I was thinking through. Oh boy. Well, hey, let's just say it, dude. I was thinking through something that I think you need to understand about crazy people. Okay, crazy people out there. They popped up out of nowhere. I mean, seemingly out of nowhere, and they were like infused, inflamed by the rage of the George Floyd murder last year. And now, I mean, there's information coming out about a white tab on his tongue, about who the drug dealer. There's all kinds of information coming out right now, right? But what ended up happening was last year, May, over Memorial Weekend, some crazy people made themselves known. And I didn't know some of those crazy people were my friends. I didn't know that. And you didn't know that either. Some of these crazy people were actually people that you're acquainted with, maybe even related to. Well, I want to break something down for you, and this is my first video on this. I'm going to do a couple of these. Well, I'm going to talk about the progressive liberal. And there's a mindset and ideology here that you need to understand what they're using against individuals, other family or friends or whatever. And I didn't know that they actually would do this, but this is what it looks like. The progressive and the liberal, they believe that it is, and this is what, when I say liberal and when I say progressive, there's two pieces of this definition you need to know. Okay, progressive means that you're moving away from all things orthodox towards something that is more, I guess you'd say, more defined individually and by subjectivity. Okay, so that may sound like some big freaking words, but that just means like I make up the rules as I go. Okay, so that's what progressive actually looks like, and actually what it means. Now, progressive may define themselves differently, but in real life terms, that's really what they're doing. That's really who they are and what it is that they believe. Now, the liberal, classic liberal was something that's completely wholly different from the contemporary liberal. Contemporary liberal there's no, like, you deconstruct everything, and there's no ties to anything concrete. Okay, so you're talking about moving beyond the family, moving beyond gender, moving beyond masculinity, moving beyond sexuality. Nothing is concrete, and that's what it means. Like, you hold everything liberally, or loosely. Okay, so nothing's held loosely. So you're progressing toward nothing while holding everything loosely. Now, the issue, though, is that what they do hold tightly to is their dogma. Their dogma is themselves. Okay, that's what you got to get to know. And this is why what happened with the George Floyd thing, what happened in society, especially with the COVID thing, it proved to be quite interesting in what their true beliefs are involving themselves related to the world. I didn't know that what ends up happening, if you venture far enough into progressivism or liberalism, you get into what I believe is a bona fide, like almost clinical narcissism, and then nihilism, narcissism and nihilism. And this is what I think you need to know about this movement, that the people who adhere themselves to it, there is nothing outside of self that is sacred. Nothing outside of self is sacred. Not religion, not family, not friendships, nothing outside of self is sacred. So and this is why it was so weird for me to realize that some people who I know, people who I really cared about, they did not even want to listen to what my experiences were, or like as if my experiences are that important, but maybe my experience could help to maybe shape or speak into what they believe about the world. Oh no, there was no room at all. Okay, there was no room at all. And the reason why there was no room at all is because any other storyline, any other narrative that butts up against their beliefs, ideas, and understandings of the world, that crushes what is true about what they believe. So if I have a different take on the world, for instance, I'm a black male who's a conservative and who votes GOP. Okay, I'm a constitutional conservative. I vote GOP because they are the most closest to conservatism that I can find. But that's how I vote. Now that butts up against everything progressives and liberals believe about black people. So that's why it's like I'm dangerous, okay? Because I don't fit their worldview. Their worldview is purely subjective. Now, what makes some of these people freaking crazy. And this is not, I'm hoping that, and I'm not trying to like paint a broad brush, but I'm just trying to tell you that this is what actually happened. What ended up taking place was individuals who I know and I care about, who are like, this is what I'm trying to tell you. These weren't like mainline Democrats. These are individuals who are uber progressive, uber liberal, and are definitely nihilistic and narcissistic. What ended up happening was they shut off communication. They shut off the ability to hear individuals like myself, despite us having a different story and a different narrative that they cannot abide by. And what was interesting to me was I found that there were white liberals and there were black liberals. There was a little bit less Hispanics that I found. There were some really racist Hispanics that I found that were friends of mine that literally are like racist, and bigoted. I didn't know that they even had that in them, especially about me, but it is what it is. But the white liberal, I had to do like an actual kind of a study on what white liberalism actually is. And there's some memes out there you'll see from Malcolm X about the white liberal and yada yada. But the white liberal was purely about saving complex. And I'm going to post a meme today from Crowder that I think is hilarious, but it's true. The white liberal, like the uber progressive, they literally believe that everybody else outside of themselves is ignorant, helpless, and has no way of really fending for themselves. It's just a weird way of looking at the world. But I'm going to tell you though, the reason why these folks do that is because they are narcissistic in their beliefs in the importance of themselves. They believe themselves to be the savior, to be the voice for everyone in their own sphere of their political ideology. They believe that they have the answers and the key to everything. So they become the advocates. They become the voice for black people. They become the high percentage of individuals who are rioting, destroying things, and blowing things up. I'm going to tell you that I truly believe that those individuals who are a part of that movement, they will turn out to be the actual Nazis. They will turn out to be more of the racist than anybody could ever understand and believe. And the reason why I believe this, which is why I believe people need to hop off this bus if you're a Democrat, hop off that dang bus, is they desire to control individuals that don't look like themselves. And that's pure, it's completely shown by what these people believe about individuals. They're willing to separate people, they're willing to divide, they're willing to call it, if you listen to what Antifa or BLM will actually call black people who don't align with their ideology as white people, you gotta understand, these folks, they self-justify their racism. They're out there calling black people niggers and this and they like Uncle Tom, coons and all that. They're using slave language against black people, which is nuts. Okay, so that's insane. But okay, that's on one side. On this one side of the coin. Well, the useful, and I hate using the term, but the useful idiots for this are the black liberals, and black liberals are individuals who have abided by a victim mentality of I don't have, so someone owes me. And what they've done is they think they have power over the white liberal, which is insane. The black liberal thinks they have power over the white liberal without realizing that the white liberal has actually used the black liberal to push forward an agenda that goes against the black liberal in the end. And black people who abide by this, they don't know that. Like a Jesse Jackson or an Al Sharpton, these people have no clue that they actually are useful idiots for people who are actually racist. All they're doing is just getting checks, they're getting money, and they're getting influence. So they're basically used as influencers over black people and over these minority groups to basically push an agenda that really is rooted in white supremacy. And people don't know that. If you look into who Jim Crow, like where Jim Crow came from, what all of these laws that were used against minorities, what do you think gun control actually was for? It wasn't just about black folks here in California and the Black Panthers. There was a whole lot more involved in individuals who were just trying to basically like have a different point of view in this world. And that might have been individuals who might have come from Ireland, who might have come from other white minority groups in Europe. Okay, so there's a lot more involved here, but it's to remove individuals' ability to protect themselves and to basically become subservient and subject to individuals who are part of the authority class, okay, or the elite class. Anyway, let me get back onto this. Okay, so the black liberal has become and is subject to the white liberal while thinking that they actually are subjecting the white liberal to black ideas, black beliefs, and black power. They have no clue that they actually are subjecting themselves to white supremacy. So what you need to know is this. These crazy freaking people are working together right now as, I mean, they're basically the enemy of my enemy is my friend. They are both enemies without knowing it. Black people who have basically made certain advocates, white people who are the useful idiots for the black causes, these individuals, they really don't like each other. Okay, you need to understand that. So when you can see this white fragility stuff and white guilt and all this stuff, and this is pushed upon the greater population of the United States, what you gotta understand is these black people, they don't like the white people, but the white people, they don't like the black people either. Okay, so these people who are coming out with these books and stuff like that, they really don't like black people. And then what they've done is they projected their own racism, their own narcissism, their own nihilism onto the world while they're not dealing with their own projections. They're not dealing with their own issues at heart. So they basically have made their personal issue the world's issue. And you need to know that. Because when you as a black person are reading right white fragility, and you're like, yeah, these points make sense, yada yada, what's happening is you are buying into the ideas of people who are psychologically have issues. This is why I'm telling you guys, don't buy into this stuff. This stuff is dangerous. It's purely dangerous. Okay, so understand that this is what's happening, and I'm just basically breaking it down for you in plain English because folks want to get into like the psychological depth. This is why critical race theory, black liberation theology, critical theory, all these things that people are using right now to gain power over one another, it all leads to destruction, every single bit of it. Because there will be a point in time where the black liberal turns against the white liberal, or the white liberal turns against the black liberal. It's going to happen. You used to have to be able to see it, but the whole underlying issue that the black people are really becoming useful pawns for is in white supremacy. These individuals are using white supremacist language against black people, and the black people who are aligning themselves with victim mentality are basically affirming and believing the white lies about black people's inability and helplessness, and they need to be assisted in every single way in their lives. You got to understand this. These people have issues with other ethnicities, but they project their virtue on everybody else to cover their own personal racism, to cover their own personal biases, and to cover their own prejudices. You need to know that. These people that think that they're allies, they have issues with themselves. And people like me, who are calling it out for what it is, people like me are called the Uncle Tom, the Coon, the nigger, all that kind of stuff. Okay, this is why it's so hilarious. Like, yo, I'm telling you exactly what's going on, and people that don't want to hear these voices, they try to shut it down. This is what happened with my social media, on Facebook, potentially my YouTube as well. So I need you to know this, I need you to understand this. If you don't know that you are dealing with some crazy people, you're not going to understand that how these crazy people use all these tools against the average person. The average person is being turned against one another. And I want you to know, and I want you to understand that there's a way out of this via knowledge, but you got to understand that there's some crazy people out there who are your friends, who are your family. And these folks, they don't have your best interests at heart. These people are, and then they get to nihilism real quick, okay? And that's why I want to make sure you understand this. Narcissism and nihilism. Narcissism is really a psychological issue, but nihilism is where everything must be destroyed. Everything comes down to nothing, and so nothing is worth anything. That means ethnicity, that means property, that means love, that means family, that means friends. Everything must be, you've heard the terms before, you hear them now, deconstruction. Everything must be deconstructed because nothing is worth anything. This is what godlessness leads to, nihilism. And these people are godless individuals, and they're within your churches. They stand in the pulpits. These people have issues, and it's a really sad thing. And they are black, they're white, they're Hispanic, they are gay, they're lesbian, they're whatever. Okay, these people come from all different types of backgrounds, but they are nihilists. And they have no clue that they're feeding into corporate, all the big food, big pharma, big money. They don't have no clue that they are just useful tools for the big issue, which is the bigs of the world. Okay, the big, like I said, the big pharma, big money, big corporations, all the big drugs, all that stuff. Okay, that's what they are. But there's also the big child sex trafficking. That's a real big. So anyway, I want to make sure I say this to you because you need to understand this. You need to know it. Hopefully this helps you to understand what's happening in the world. But more so, I hope that you're able to distinguish amongst your friends who the crazies are and who people are that actually try to speak sense into your life. There are people like me that want to speak sense into your life to help you see what's going on. But believe me, there'll be a point in time where voices like mine get shut down. If you're not equipped with the tools to know how to fight this craziness coming from these progressive liberals that are uber nihilists and uber narcissists, you'll get caught up into the wings and the winds of their shenanigans. I'm not getting caught in anybody's shenanigans, but I don't want you to be caught up either. Take care.